Was Suella Braverman sacked for being right? Was she sacked because she refused to toe the namby-pamby, wishy-washy, lefty-lovey lies about illegal immigration and, crucially, about two-tier policing on our streets? Suella Braverman was right about the hate marches. Yes, there were bad scenes from some counter-protesters. I absolutely do not condone clashes with police, and there were some disgusting things that happened there. But there was a heck of a lot more of this stuff, and this stuff has been going on for weeks. Huge numbers of anti-Semitic signs, like this one that we can see on your screens right now. People saying things like, death to all the Jews, intimidation of poppy sellers in the run-up to Remembrance Weekend, having to move their stalls, constant chants of from the river to the sea. We all know what that really means. And that's before we get stuck in to the calls for jihad on the streets. So yes, they were and are hate marches. And I tell you who'll be happiest with Suella's sacking? Those people doing that chanting. But she was also right about two-tiered policing. Now, I don't enjoy saying this because the police do a difficult job. I do think that they should be paid more, and a lot of the time I feel incredibly sorry for them. But facts are fact, and the facts are that the police sent forward Assistant Commissioner Matt Twist early doors to tell everyone that the counter-protesters were essentially violent scumbags and the pro-Palestinian march was all fine and dandy, and that simply was not true. This meant that the media reported it as such, like our friends at Channel 4 News, who put this tweet out before deleting it. It said, after being branded hate marches by the Home Secretary, a massive pro-Palestinian protest passed off peacefully, with hundreds of thousands in attendance. The only scuffles on the day involved far-right protesters who clashed with police. That is categorically untrue. And it was untrue when they tweeted that. They must have known that. But they were helped with that tweet, pushing their political agenda, as were other left-leaning commentators, because of the comments that were made by the Met Police. But also, the police's behaviour. The police went in straight away and arrested bad actors within the counter-protesters. But then, yet again, they just looked to retrospectively arrest people from the pro-Palestine march. They put up appeals for the public, like this, by the way, just a warning now, OK, that the clip that I'm about to play for you might offend you.
Hitler knew how to deal with these people. They probably made a program so they can create a state of Israel in the expense of Palestinian Muslims' blood.
Police were also happy to be pictured with children dressed as novelty Hamas terrorists. And in a stark contrast from how they handled counter-protesters, they stood by and allowed a mass brawl to take place in London. There you go. Happening. The police just standing there, mass brawl taking place. We can see it with our own eyes. Again, the police retrospectively say that they might not have handled that correctly. So, I put it to you that Suella Braverman was absolutely right about there being two-tiered policing and the police potentially picking a side. I do not think for 1 second that the people among the counter-protesters who went there to cause trouble actually did so because of Suella Braverman. They went there, I think, because they felt that our police force and our politicians were letting them down. Suella was right about there being an invasion on our south coast. She was right about there being a hurricane of illegal immigrants heading to the Western world. And for people who think that that language is a bit spicy and inappropriate, David Cameron once called them a swarm. So, you know, have that. He's back in now, isn't he? She was right about the irreversible impact that that will have on our culture and on our way of life. She was right that the international community needed to act now to change the definition of a refugee. Suella Braverman has actually been right about quite a lot. People might not have liked the language she used. They might have moaned to their metropolitan mates about how she's a horrible little hate merchant and a racist. But I will tell you what I really think they didn't like most of all. They couldn't stand that she, especially as an ethnic minority, was brave enough to say what the silent majority of Brits are actually thinking. She has her finger on the pulse more than Rishi Sunak, whose solution to all of the major issues facing the country right now are banning smoking, changing exams for kids and sitting on Elon Musk's knee. If Rishi Sunak really thinks that Suella Braverman was the problem and that David Cameron, a pro-EU, China-loving Obama-phile with some fascinating business interests in the Middle East, is the answer, then maybe he's more deluded than many people thought.